if any player of any note is made available, or wants a trade, immediately you're going to ask, especially when you see the price dropping, and you really want to buy the dip here. So I remember in the offseason, and we're talking, of course, about Ben Simmons. I remember in the offseason, there's a huge stir caused when people were talking about Ben Simmons for Jaylen Brown. Would you do it? And Celtics fans literally tried to kill all of us or everybody who even entertained that as an idea. And certainly you don't want to talk about trading a real piece of the Celtics. But if Philly is desperate, having a difficult time, and this becomes an untenable situation and or a salary dump, should the Celtics knock on the door and say, what would it take? Is there any world in which you could see entertaining the idea of a Ben Simmons trade for the Celtics?
I could absolutely see it happening if the price keeps dropping. To me, it's going to be one of those things where Ben Simmons would have to say, I want to play with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, because there's no way that they're going to get either one of those guys, Philly that is, in exchange for Ben. It just won't happen. I look at this as a situation where, remember a few weeks ago, all the talk about Dennis Schroeder and his future, Celtics were nowhere on the radar. The thinking was that there's no way in hell that he would wind up in Boston, because he's going to demand too much money, and they're just not going to make the money work. And then lo and behold, they get him for like less than $6 million. If you can somehow finagle a way to get Ben Simmons, and it doesn't cost you in any way, shape, or form, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Robert Williams, Al Horford, if you can keep that foursome intact and add Ben Simmons with some type of combination of the other guys, hell yeah. Do that.
I wish,
and I don't think it'll happen, but that, to me, that's what would make me want to bring him.
What I love is, again, it's like, it's fantasy football draft season. So I'll use that analogy. You see guys where all of a sudden the hatred just gets way too big. And you're like, this guy's a value right now. Would I start my team with this person? Maybe not anymore. The problem with Simmons really, but when you see that value, we're having conversations, in side chats, and I'm listening to people on Twitter, and they think this guy's a bum, a role player, just because of one postseason where his free throw shooting went just completely off the chains bad. And he's never been good, but he's 60% every single year. He's basically the same guy. He's been the same guy. It's frustrating he hasn't improved in such a minor thing in his game, which would open up so many other things, but he hasn't. But I think people overdid it with how bad this guy is. You wish you could buy the dip, but he makes so much freaking money and he's under contract till 25. It's a tough one. It's a really tough thing for any team. It's a massive commitment if you're bringing on this guy. I would say if he had Jaylen Brown's contract, I would be very interested in seeing this, because this is a guy who, despite his flaws, is still elite at several things. Elite, and that's hard to find.
It is, and particularly elite with a long-term contract and still relatively young in terms of being an NBA player. So there's a lot of positives about him as a player. But to your point, John, that damn contract, it's what makes a lot of people hit the pause button on the Ben Simmons bring him to my city campaign, because he makes max dollars. And to me, it's not even so much about that one moment where he basically, he choked. He had a dunk in a pivotal game.
That's the signature moment. But people are going to point to, I think it was like 32% from the free throw line all playoffs long.
Right. But the thing about Ben is that when you have his elite talents, and we know they exist, and you have a clear and undeniable flaw in your game, and you don't do a damn thing for years to improve in that one area that everyone is telling you and everyone can see is a problem, that's the problem. It's not so much the moment, it's the fact that you haven't learned from the moment and made yourself better, or hell, forget about make yourself better. Try to be better. Try.
Be the best version.
I'm not asking you to be Ray Allen, but damn, can you at least be Allen Ray? Can I get an Allen Ray out of you?
What do we want, Sherrod? We want him to be the best version of himself. That's all you want.
But he's stop, Brad Stevens. Stop it, damn it. Didn't we just move you to the front of the line? We don't need your coaching.
Just be the best version of yourself.
Just take a damn shot. That's all. I don't need you to be an all-star elite three-point shooter. You don't, I mean, to me, at this point, forget about elite shooters. Be freaking DeMar DeRozan and shoot the damn mid-range.
How much of it is I mean, with that, and again, we've talked about this a lot. What I don't fully understand is how much of that is strictly based off of ego. Like, I don't want to suck at something, okay? And I don't want you guys to see me suck. So in a closed gym, working with a personal trainer or working with a shot guru, yeah, I'll go up there and I'll jack a bunch of shots and mess around with it. But the fact that he's even afraid to do it in like the exhibition season or in practice, if I were a coach, I would tell him, I want 10 threes out of you in this exhibition game. I do not care if a single one goes in. I just want you to get used to shoot them. Every single time, I want you to drift to the three-point line, and when you get it, I want you to launch it. I do not care. But he won't do it because I think the embarrassment of going 0 for 10, even in a preseason game, it would be a headline ever. It would be a Twitter meme. It's definitely in his head. He does not want to look bad.
Right. And the problem with that mindset, and I've talked to a couple of scouts about this, is that he's already put a cap on how good he's going to be.
Right.
And to have a max contract, to be that young, and you already have a cap on how good you're going to be, never mind what teams think about you, never mind what your teammates or your coach, you have put a personal limitation on how much you're going to grow. That makes every single team that has the slightest interest in you pause and think, I don't think this is going to work out. Because you have you're basically, we call that self-check, where I don't really have to check you. You've already checked yourself. When you're defending Ben Simmons, you're not really, he's double teamed every time he has a ball by whoever's in front of him and himself. You can't win with that. That's why any deal Philadelphia can get at this point, they really need to think long and hard about taking it, because the offers are not going to get better.
Yeah, I mean, and in today's NBA, you can't really hide. I think the natural thing for him to do is transition to power forward, where it wouldn't be as big a deal there, versus when he's your point guard and he's the guy at the top of the key and the defense is collapsing and playing off the guy who's got the ball in his hands the whole time. Maybe there's that, but even there, you really want that position to be able to shoot a little. And that, again, it's just a problem for him.